Hello, math fans. I'm about 2 days away from my annual family white elephant gift exchange, and it got me thinking I should add a video to my children's games section. This actually applies to quite a few games, so at some point I was going to have to talk about fair division. So I'm going to say a couple things about what fair division is. I don't claim to be an expert. I plan to read more in order for me to say more about children's games. My advisor in graduate school wrote a book about fair division, but I didn't do any research with him, so I'm going to start by reading that book. But I'll talk about the gift exchange and what we do in my family and how you can cheat. We don't really cheat, but it always gets me thinking about this. But fair division itself, when I first heard of it, I heard of it in this context. You have a piece of cake or a brownie or something, and there's only one left, and you're trying to split it up. You know, maybe you're trying to split it up between Anna and Edison, my niece and nephew. So what do? You pick one to cut it and the other one to chew. So if Anna cuts, she's going to try to cut it somewhere perfectly even, because Edison's going to pick whichever one he thinks is bigger, so Anna has a reason to try to cut it as evenly as possible. If you have more than two people, there's actually a whole bunch of methods. I was just reading up that there were methods kind of starting back in the 50s. Papers were published about this. So people do research on this, and part of what I'm trying to show you is there's a lot of ways you can go with math. Almost any question you can ask, you can go further. People are still doing research on this. Okay, so let's say we throw in Karl and Jude, and you have four people. There's a bunch of methods. The one that made the most sense to me was something like published in 1961, where they said you're going to have a third person, a referee, a mom or a dad, hover over the cake with a knife and slowly move over. And when they get to a place where somebody wants you to cut, they shout out, "Cut!" So let's say Cal shouts out, "Cut!" The moment he says that, we're going to cut that slice, and Cal will get this slice. And so if he waits too long, someone else will yell "cut." But if he yells too early, he'll get a smaller one. That's sort of how it goes. And then you just keep going till someone shouts again, "Cut!" Maybe Edison chose that one. And then you go again, "Cut!" And maybe Anna got this one, and then Jude would be left with what's left. So you need that's a referee method. There's a whole bunch of different methods, and people ask all sorts of questions about what is fair. That may seem silly, but it's actually not. There's lots of examples where fair division is necessary. Fighting over inheritance. Parents get divorced. There's countries are fighting over who gets what piece of land. So there's a lot of interest in these sorts of things and what are schemes based off of how people value things. So there's a big topic. Fair division is a big thing. This is a continuous example of fair division because you can cut it kind of wherever you want. There's all sorts of methods. Okay, so this is not really going to be about that, but this is the beginning of, there's quite a few games where strategies about fair division may come into play. And I just realized that white elephant gift exchanges overlaps with this. It's what we call a finite fair division, or a discrete fair division problem, where you have a collection of objects people bring. And these are some examples from over the years. Somebody brought so everyone wraps a gift. I'll explain the rules here in a second. But people bring a collection of things here. So the rules in our family is everyone brings one wrapped gift, and we place it in the center of the table there. And I learned this game. My father-in-law, Karl, this is really dedicated to him. His family's always been so welcoming. Him and his brothers always played this game. They played it in a nice way. Nobody was cheating. They always were trying to finish it. But they all would host. It was wonderful. really my wife's family has always treated me as one of their own. I've learned so much from them about, how to speak. When I go to their house, all the sisters would sit and talk to each other and listen to each other, and I've learned so much from them. And then we've continued the tradition with my own family. We get together and we do a similar thing. And this is my mom's family, and they are so wonderful. We have just the best time ever. So no one's trying to cheat on the game. If anything, we're trying to be goofy. So how we play the game is everyone brings a gift. We hand out numbers, and so we put a bunch of numbers on little slips of paper. We drop it into a bin, and everyone pulls one out. And usually we have on the order of 20 to 30 people. So everyone gets a number. Maybe I get the number 16, and then, maybe Danny gets the number 3, and we just pass all these out. Maybe Tommy gets 1. And then once everyone has their number, all these wrapped gifts are in the middle of the table, and number 1 goes and grabs one and unwraps it. And he's like, oh, it's candles. Why did I get candles? And then number 2 goes, and number 2 gets to choose. Let's say number 2 is Kathy here. And Kathy can choose to steal or unwrap a new one. Let's say Kathy says, well, I want those candles. Then Tommy can pick another one. So let's say Tommy unwraps a present. It's the dad jokes. Then number 3 goes. And Danny can steal one of those, or he can get something new. He unwraps and he gets the fanny pack that looks like someone's belly. That was a popular gift a couple years ago. So in my wife's family, the gifts were nicer. In my family, they're not nice. They're usually goofy, but we love it. So the main thing is once you get further into the game, you get to number 4. Here goes Gail. You can steal. Now, in our family, the rule is you can steal multiple times. It's just a little different than the white elephant rules I'm finding online. But it's house rules. So what would happen is, Gail would steal this, and we call that one steal in the round. We keep track of that. And let's say Kathy wants the dad jokes, which I can't believe she'd want. And Tommy wants the belly. That's one steal. And we have the rule that it can be stolen 3 times in a round. That's kind of a unique rule. So let's say Danny then takes the candles. Okay, that's 2 steals for that one. And then Gail takes the dad jokes. Kathy takes the belly. And then Tommy steals the candles. That would be 3 times, and the candles wouldn't be able to be stolen anymore that round. And at any point, this person could go unwrap and say, well, I got the beard hat or whatever. And then we keep going. And then the only other special, so we steal, we keep track in each round. If something's been stolen 3 times, that thing can't be stolen again in that round. As I read the rules, that sounds like some people do it differently, where that ends it for the game. But our goal, at least my goal, is for people to steal a lot, everyone to be in the game as long as possible, and maybe lots of people laugh, and maybe somebody cries. I really don't want anyone to cry. But anyways, that's the lay of the land. The only other rule is at the end of the game, everyone has a present, and that's what I'm going to talk about. We get to the end of the game, everyone has an unwrapped present, and the person who had number 1, this is our house rule, but it sounds like it's pretty typical. Whoever's number 1 can set their present in the middle and steal whatever they want. And then we have one big round of stealing. And at any point, someone could take the present in the middle, and that ends the game. So that's our rules. Okay, so each when your number comes up, you either unwrap or you steal. Things can be stolen 3 times in a round, and at the very end, number 1 gets to go again. Okay, so it's natural. We sort of joke that over the years now, no one really cares. In my in-laws family, flashlights were a big thing. The men wanted the flashlights. A lot of people wanted the Starbucks with the Starbucks gift card. I always just wanted the Hickory Farms. I mean, who doesn't want cheese that's been sitting on a shelf for 3 years? I don't understand how the cheese stays good, but I like Hickory Farms. Plus, you get those little strawberry candies. So, thinking back before I get into the math, I'm going to do a couple problems that sort of talk about some logic. And then I'll leave it at that. But it will give you some ideas about cheating. My wife says I shouldn't do this because it'll give everybody else ideas. But anyways, I did want to comment that my wife's grandpa, who has since passed away, Dan McDonald, was just one of the most welcoming men. He taught me a lot as well. But when he one year attended the gift exchange, and then we decided to have a gift exchange with my mother-in-law's side of the family the next day, he brought the same gift that he'd won the day before. He didn't say anything. And then somebody's like, "Is that the gift from yesterday?" It was awesome. All right, I'm going to remove these pictures here so that I'm not too distracted. It's very emotional to see those. Lately in our family, there's my grandma who's passed away made this wreath out of nuts, the nut wreath. And the nut wreath is always in the gift exchange. Some people don't want to get the nut wreath, but I really want to get it. Okay, so there's the game. You can play that game in your own family. Fun way to do it. I did look up rules online. They have this once per turn rule for stealing, which to me sounds like it would not be fun. I did, before I get into the math, I looked up why it's called white elephant, and it sounds like it's not known very well. It's just a random thing I found online that the legend is that the king of Siam, whenever someone made him unhappy, he would give them a white elephant that they had to take care of, which was a penalty. Okay.